The diamond ring slipped from her trembling fingers and shattered against the marble floor of his penthouse. Not the ring itself. Diamonds don't shatter. But something else did. Something inside Hyunwoo Baek's chest that he didn't even know could break. "I'm sorry," Jisoo whispered, her Chanel heels crunching over the fragments of the life they'd planned together. "But Zhao's family has connections to the ministry." "Your money is impressive, Hyunwoo, but his money has power." She walked out, just like that. 33 floors above Seoul, with the city lights sprawling beneath them like fallen stars, Hyunwoo stood alone in a penthouse worth $40 million and realized he'd never felt more worthless in his entire life. He was 29 years old, CEO of Baek Innovations, one of South Korea's fastest-growing tech empires. Featured in Forbes Asia's 30 Under 30, he had 17 luxury vehicles he'd never driven, a wine collection worth more than most people's homes, closets full of suits that cost more than a semester of university tuition, but not a single person who'd cry if he disappeared tomorrow. That thought hit him like a physical blow. He walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows, pressed his palm against the cold glass, and watched the city below. Millions of people, millions of lives intersecting and connecting and mattering to each other. And him, suspended above it all, untouchable and utterly alone. His phone buzzed. His executive assistant, Chiamaka Chairman Baek. "The merger documents need your signature by morning. Chiamaka Chairman Baek." Not Hyunwoo. Never Hyunwoo. Just his title, his position, his net worth. He looked at that message for a long time. Then he did something that would later seem insane, reckless, possibly the best decision of his entire life. He turned off his phone. He walked to his bedroom, past the custom-made furniture and original artwork, and opened the closet his cleaning staff maintained. In the very back, behind the designer suits, he found clothes he'd bought years ago for a charity photo shoot, worn jeans, a faded jacket, scuffed sneakers. He changed. The man staring back at him in the mirror looked different already. Smaller somehow. More human. He grabbed a backpack, threw in some sketchbooks and charcoal pencils. Relics from a hobby he'd abandoned when building an empire became his only identity. Then he walked out of his penthouse and disappeared into Seoul's winter night. No security detail, no credit cards, no phone, no identity except the one he'd create from nothing. He had one devastating question that needed an answer. Would anyone in this city treat him like he mattered if they thought he had nothing? The Yanghwa Bridge became his home. Beneath it, where the Han River whispered its cold secrets and the city's forgotten people carved out invisible existences, Hyunwoo transformed into someone new. He called himself Woo. Just Woo. Simple. Forgettable. The first week nearly killed him. Not physically, though the December cold bit through his donated jacket like teeth, but spiritually. He'd sit there with his sketchbook, drawing portraits of people passing overhead. And not a single person looked down. Not one. He was invisible. By the second week, he understood the brutal hierarchy of invisibility. People literally stepped over him. Salary workers in pressed suits, rushing to jobs where they'd be seen and valued, stepping over a human being like he was a puddle to avoid. Couples walked past holding designer shopping bags, debating restaurants, their conversation flowing around him like he was made of air. One teenager actually filmed himself putting money in Hyunwoo's empty cup for social media, then took it back the moment the video ended. "Thanks for the content, man," the kid said, walking away. By week 7, Hyunwoo was ready to give up on humanity entirely, ready to return to his penthouse and accept that real connection was a myth. Then she appeared. It was 3:47 in the morning. She was wearing the teal and yellow uniform of a 24-hour convenience store. Black woman, mid-20s, with natural hair pulled back in a puff. She was walking quickly, shoulders hunched against the February cold, clearly exhausted from her shift. She stopped, right in front of him, just stopped. "These are beautiful," she said, looking at his drawings. Her Korean was good, slightly accented but fluent, and she was actually looking at them. "You have real talent," she continued, crouching down to his level. Nobody crouched down, to get a better view. "Did you study art?" Hyunwoo's voice came out rough. "I used to draw, long time ago." She smiled, exhausted but genuine, like she'd used the last bit of her energy to be kind to a stranger. "I'm Chiamaka," she said. Then she held out a plastic bag. "I work at the GS25 up the street. We have to throw away the kimbap that doesn't sell by morning." If you're hungry." He stared at that bag like it contained secrets to the universe. "You didn't have to do this." "I know." She set the bag beside him carefully, respectfully. "But it's freezing and no one should be out here hungry." She paused. "What's your name?" "Woo," he said. "It's good to meet you, Woo." She stood up, wincing slightly. Her feet must be killing her. "I walk this way every night after work, around 3:45. I'll stop by again tomorrow if that's okay." Hyunwoo nodded, not trusting his voice. She smiled and disappeared into the darkness. For the first time in 7 weeks, someone had seen him. The next night at 3:47 she appeared again, this time with triangle kimbap and hot coffee settling down nearby. Not too close, respecting his space, but close enough to talk. "So what do you draw?" she asked. He showed her his sketchbook. Pages of faces, strangers he'd observed, each one captured with careful attention to details most people missed. "These are incredible," she said softly. "You don't just draw what people look like. You draw who they are." Something in Hyunwoo's chest cracked open. They talked until almost 5 in the morning. She told him about her shift, about a customer who'd yelled at her for not speaking proper Korean, about saving money to send to her mother. "She lives about 4 hours south," Chiamaka explained. "My father was Korean, military stationed in Nigeria. He brought my mom here when they got married, but he died when I was 10. Mom raised me alone, and..." She trailed off. "Korea isn't easy for her. Or for me, honestly. People don't really know what to do with someone who looks like me." Hyunwoo understood that feeling, being invisible for different reasons, but invisible all the same. That became their ritual. Every morning at 3:47, Chiamaka would stop by, sometimes with food, sometimes just coffee, sometimes just conversation. She told him about her ex-boyfriend Taejun, who dated her for 3 years. How he was an assistant manager at some big company and kept promising marriage, but something felt wrong lately. Hyunwoo listened, really listened, shared carefully edited versions of his life, that he used to work in business but burned out. All technically true, just missing the detail about being worth billions. These conversations became the most authentic interactions Hyunwoo had experienced in years. Chiamaka didn't want anything from him, couldn't want anything because she thought he had nothing. She just saw a person and decided that person deserved kindness. For the first time since this experiment started, Hyunwoo wasn't testing humanity anymore. He was just falling in love. Then one morning in late February, Chiamaka appeared at 3:47, but something was catastrophically wrong. Her eyes were swollen. Her hands trembled. When she saw him, she collapsed beside him and started crying. "What happened?" Hyunwoo asked, genuinely panicked. "I went to surprise Taejun at work with lunch," her voice cracked. "He was in his office with my cousin Yoonji." Kissing her. "Your cousin?" "Yeah. My cousin who's always made comments about my hair, my job, everything." Chiamaka wiped her eyes roughly, and Taejun said I wasn't enough. That Yoonji's family has money and connections, and I'm just a convenience store clerk who'll never amount to anything. "He's an idiot," Hyunwoo said quietly. She laughed bitterly. "Maybe. But 3 years in Seoul, and what do I have? A tiny apartment. A job that barely covers rent. And the worst part? My mum already paid for the wedding venue. 15 million won, she saved working 3 jobs. The deposit's non-refundable. She's going to be devastated. An idea formed in Hyunwoo's mind. Reckless, impossible, completely insane. "Marry me," he said. Chiamaka's head snapped up. What? Marry me? Temporarily, Hyunwoo turned to face her. Your mom already paid for a wedding. Your family's expecting one, so let's give them one. We get married, maintain it for several months, then quietly divorce. Your mom doesn't lose her money, you don't face humiliation, and I get to help the only person in this city who's treated me like I'm human. She stared at him. You're homeless. How would that even work? I'm not completely without resources, he said carefully. I can clean up. I'll be respectful to your family. But I need you to trust me. Can you do that? She looked at him for a long time. Then she started laughing. That slightly hysterical laugh when reality becomes so absurd, it circles back to making sense. Okay, let's do it. Let's get married. 4 days later, they stood in Seoul City Hall. Hyunwoo had cleaned up, borrowed suit, haircut, shaved. He looked presentable, just not billionaire CEO presentable. The registrar asked Chiamaka 3 times if she was being coerced. I'm choosing to marry Woo, Chiamaka said firmly. This is what I want. The registrar shrugged and stamped the documents. Just like that, Hyunwoo Baek, billionaire CEO, was legally married to Chiamaka Okoro, convenience store worker. And she still had no idea who he really was. They moved into Chiamaka's apartment in Nowon, one room that could fit inside Hyunwoo's penthouse bathroom. A kitchen so small only one person could stand in it. Living together was surprisingly easy. Chiamaka worked nights, so Hyunwoo had evenings free to sneak out and meet his executive assistant, checking on the company. Then he'd return before she came home at 4 a.m. During the day, they fell into rhythm. Chiamaka made breakfast. Hyunwoo cleaned up, repaired things around the apartment, the malfunctioning heater, the stuck door, the leaky faucet. Where did you learn to fix all this? Chiamaka kept asking. YouTube, he'd lie. They watched dramas together. She'd explain cultural references. He'd sketch while she studied Korean textbooks, preparing for a proficiency exam. Why do you need that test? Hyunwoo asked one afternoon. Your Korean's already excellent. Excellence not enough, Chiamaka said. I need to be perfect if I want anyone to take me seriously. If I want better employment. If I want to prove I belong here. He watched her, so determined to prove herself in a country that had never made space for her. Something twisted in his chest. This woman deserved everything, and here he was, lying to her every day. He kept trying to tell her, multiple times. Chiamaka, there's something I need to explain. Hold on, this customer is screaming at me. She'd take a work call and the moment would evaporate. The truth is, I'm not exactly... Woo, I need to tell you something first. I don't care about your past. Whatever you're running from doesn't matter. You've been kind and honest. That's all I need to know. She'd smile so trustingly that his confession would die in his throat. How do you tell someone you've been deceiving them when they just told you your honesty is what they value most? 6 weeks passed, then 8. And somewhere in all those conversations and shared meals and quiet afternoons, something fundamental shifted. This wasn't fake anymore. Chiamaka would laugh at his jokes and he'd feel it in his chest. She'd fall asleep on the couch and he'd cover her with a blanket and just watch her, memorizing her face. She started calling him her husband like she meant it, and he'd feel this surge of something that was definitely, undeniably love. Then one evening in mid-March, Chiamaka's phone rang. Her mother. She listened, then went pale. Wait, what? This Saturday. But that's in 5 days. She covered the phone. My mum invited us home for the weekend. She wants to meet you. She's already told the whole family. Okay, so we go. You don't understand. My Aunt Rebecca is going to be there. My aunt who measures everyone by their bank account. My cousin Yoonji, who thinks I'm a failure. And Taejin is definitely going to be there because he's dating Yoonji now. Then let's show them you're doing perfectly fine, Hyunwoo said calmly. Woo, you... She stopped, uncomfortable. I look homeless, he finished. I didn't mean it's accurate. He set down his sketchbook. Chiamaka, I'll clean up properly. I'll be respectful. But I need you to trust me. Can you do that? She studied his face, then nodded. Okay, I trust you. He really needed to tell her the truth before they reached that village. He didn't. 5 days later, they were on a train south. Hyun-woo had cleaned up more. Better borrowed clothes, another haircut. He looked respectable. Just not billionaire respectable. Chiamaka was anxious the entire ride. My Aunt Rebecca is going to judge everything. Yoonji's going to bring Taejun to humiliate me. My mom wanted me to marry someone established, someone she could be proud of. Instead, I'm bringing... She trailed off, miserable. A homeless street artist you married out of convenience. No. God, no. I didn't marry you out of convenience, Woo. I married you because you're kind, and you listen and you see me, because in 2 months, you've treated me better than Taejun did in 3 years. She looked out the window. I just wish I could give my mum what she wants. A son-in-law she could be proud of. She will be, Hyun-woo said quietly. Trust me. They arrived at the village in late afternoon. Cherry blossoms were blooming, dusting the streets with pink petals. Chiamaka's mother lived in a modest house with a small garden in front. The door flew open before they knocked. Chiamaka! Her mother was small with greying hair and the same warm smile. She pulled Chiamaka into a hug, then turned to Hyun-woo with excited eyes. And you must be Woo! Come in! The house smelled incredible. Jollof rice and kimchi stew. Her mother fussed over them, bringing food and asking questions. She was genuinely kind. And Hyun-woo could see exactly where Chiamaka learned to see people as human beings. I'm so grateful she found you, her mother said to Hyun-woo. She always chose men who didn't appreciate her. But I can see it in your eyes. You see her. Hyun-woo swallowed hard. Yes, Mom. I do. That night, they shared Chiamaka's childhood bedroom. They lay in the darkness, carefully not touching, both wide awake. Woo, Chiamaka whispered. Yeah? Thank you. For doing this. For coming here. For being you. You don't need to thank me. I do, though. Good night. Good night, Chiamaka. The next evening was the family dinner, an upscale restaurant 40 minutes away. Chiamaka had been anxious all day. It's going to be fine, Hyun-woo kept saying. They arrived at 7, expensive establishment, mood lighting, dress code. Hyun-woo was in his best borrowed clothes, but they were obviously inexpensive. Chiamaka wore a simple sale dress. Aunt Rebecca was there, dripping in Chanel and Cartier. Next to her was Yoonji in a dress that probably cost more than Chiamaka's monthly rent, and across from them, looking smug, was Taejun. Chiamaka, Aunt Rebecca's voice carried across the restaurant. You actually came. And this must be your husband. The way she said husband made it sound like an insult. Hello, Aunt Rebecca. This is Woo. Charming, Yoonji said, meaning the opposite. Taejun, doesn't he look familiar? Like that homeless man outside Chiamaka's work? Taejun laughed. Oh my God, it is. Chiamaka, did you seriously marry the street beggar? The table went quiet. Chiamaka's face flushed. He's not, she started. Oh, honey, there's no shame in charity work, Aunt Rebecca said with poisonous sympathy. Though marrying them is extreme. What does he even do for employment? I'm between opportunities, Hyun-woo said calmly. Yoonji nearly spit out her wine. That's code for unemployed. Taejun, you dodged a bullet. I genuinely did, Taejun agreed. No offense, Chiamaka, but look at you. Same cheap clothes, same dead-end job, same tiny apartment. And now married to someone who literally lived on the street. Chiamaka's mother stood up. That's enough. It's not talk, it's reality, Aunt Rebecca said. Chiamaka's always been the family disappointment. Meanwhile, Yoonji's engaged to an assistant manager at one of the biggest companies in Seoul. Assistant manager at Baek Innovations, Taejun corrected, puffing up. Hyun-woo's eyebrow twitched, but he said nothing. Baek Innovations, Aunt Rebecca crowed, one of the most successful tech companies. That's the caliber of man you should have married, Chiamaka. Someone with ambition, with prospects, not... She waved at Hyun-woo. We could have frozen fire. The one who's been dating my wife's cousin after betraying my wife. How's that working out? Your wife? The word came out as a squeak. Hyunwoo ignored him and turned to Chiamaka. His expression softened immediately. He reached into his jacket, clearly expensive now that people were looking properly, and pulled out a small black velvet box. When he opened it, a diamond ring caught the light. Not just any ring, the kind that whispered about old money and new power and resources beyond comprehension. He got down on one knee right there in the restaurant. "Chiamaka," he said gently, his voice shaking with real emotion. 2 months ago, you saw a man sitting under a bridge and decided he deserved kindness. Food, conversation, humanity. You didn't know I was testing the world, seeing if anyone could see past money and status to just see me as a person. You did. You saw me when I had nothing. You married me when you thought I was nobody. You've treated me with more respect and genuine care than anyone has in my entire life. Tears streamed down Chiamaka's face. So I'm asking you now, in front of everyone, with no more secrets. Will you stay married to me? Not out of obligation, not to save face, but because I've fallen completely in love with you. And I want to spend every day proving I deserve the kindness you showed a stranger under a bridge. Chiamaka was crying, the kind where you can't breathe properly. You're an idiot, she sobbed. Is that a yes? Yes, you absolute idiot, yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger and stood up, pulling her into a kiss. Not performative, real, desperate, full of 2 months of 3:47 a.m. conversations and falling in love in the most unlikely circumstances. When they broke apart, Hyunwoo kept his arm around Chiamaka and turned to the table. His expression had shifted, no longer soft, but arctic. Taejun, he said pleasantly, which somehow made it worse. You're terminated. Effective immediately. Security will escort you from the building Monday. Taejun made a sound like a dying animal. Yoonji and Rebecca. Thank you for this illuminating evening. I now understand exactly what kind of family my wife has been dealing with. Aunt Rebecca found her voice strangled. Mr. Bake, Chairman Bake, we had no idea. Of course you didn't. That was the point. His voice dripped with icy politeness. But let me be clear. My wife is worth more than everyone at this table combined, not because of her bank account or connections or job title, but because she has something none of you possess. Basic human decency. He turned to Chiamaka's mother, expression softening. Mrs. Okoro, I apologize for the deception. I wanted to understand who my wife's family was before revealing myself. I can see now that Chiamaka's character came from you, not from everyone at this table. Chiamaka's mother was smiling now, a small, knowing smile. Now, if you'll excuse us, Hyunwoo said, guiding Chiamaka toward the door. We have a board meeting to prepare for. Oh, and dinner is on me. Merry spring season, everyone. They walked out hand in hand while Aunt Rebecca's jaw was still on the floor. Outside, with cherry blossoms drifting through the air and security detail waiting, Chiamaka finally found her voice. You're really him, Baek Hyunwoo, the Forbes 30 under 30 guy, the tech genius. I tried to tell you. So many times. She hit his arm, hard. You let me bring you convenience store kimbap for 2 months. Your kimbap was the best thing I'd eaten in years, he said honestly, because it came with you. Because it came with someone who saw me as a person. She hit him again but was laughing through tears. I can't believe this. I married a billionaire. I made a billionaire sleep on my floor. You married a man under a bridge who had nothing, Hyunwoo corrected gently. That's who I fell in love with. The wealth, the company, it's just circumstances. What matters is that you saw me, really saw me. I did see you. I saw someone kind who drew beautiful art and listened and made me laugh. That's who I fell in love with. Even though I deceived you about the money. You didn't deceive me about who you are, she said firmly. You deceived me about what you have. Those are different things. The man I married at 3:47 in the morning, he's real, right? The most real I've ever been, Hyunwoo promised. More real than I've been in 10 years of building a company and pretending I wasn't completely alone. She kissed him again, gentler this time. When she pulled back, there was mischief in her eyes. So how rich are we talking? Can we afford to eat at restaurants without checking prices? He laughed. Actually laughed. Free and genuine and unguarded. Chiamaka, we could buy this restaurant. We could buy every restaurant in this city. Oh my God, she looked at the ring, really looked at it. This probably costs more than my entire apartment building. About 4 times more, 3-carat Tiffany diamond, internally flawless. But honestly, I would have been just as happy giving you a ring from a vending machine if that's all I had. She made a strangled sound between laugh and sob. My mum is going to have a heart attack. Should we tell her now? No. Let her enjoy imagining Aunt Rebecca's face for one more night. We'll tell her tomorrow. They stood there in the spring evening, cherry blossoms drifting around them like blessings. For the record, Chiamaka said quietly, I would have stayed married to you even if you genuinely were homeless. I fell for you in $3 kimbap and Han River conversations. She gestured at the luxury vehicles. This is just a really insane bonus. Hyunwoo pulled her close. I know, that's exactly why I love you. They returned to Chiamaka's mother's house that night. In the morning, Hyunwoo sat down with her and explained everything. The experiment, the disguise, meeting Chiamaka, falling in love. Her mother listened quietly. When he finished, she was silent for a moment. You could have told her sooner, she finally said. I know, I was afraid. That she'd look at me differently. That I'd lose the only real thing I'd found in years. Her mother smiled, sad but understanding. My daughter doesn't change how she sees people based on bank accounts. I raised her in 2 countries that told her she didn't fully belong to either one. I raised her to see people's hearts, but I'm glad you understand that now. I do, Hyunwoo said, and I promise to spend the rest of my life proving I deserve her. Good. She stood and hugged him. Actually hugged him. And Hyunwoo, who hadn't been hugged by a mother figure since his own mother died 3 years ago, felt something inside him finally, completely heal. Welcome to the family, for real this time. 1 year after that conversation, Bayek Innovations launched a new initiative, a non-profit division helping immigrant families navigate life in Korea. Free Korean classes, legal assistance, job placement, cultural integration support. They named it the Chiamaka Initiative. And every year on the anniversary of their first meeting, Hyunwoo and Chiamaka return to Yanghwa Bridge at 3:47 in the morning. They bring kimbap from a convenience store, not because they have to, but because some rituals are worth keeping. And they sit under that bridge and remember the night a billionaire disguised as a beggar met a woman who saw past everything that didn't matter to see the only thing that did, a human being who needed to be seen. So here's what we take away. In a world obsessed with status and wealth and performance, the rarest thing you can offer someone is genuine humanity. The ability to see them, really see them. Hyunwoo had everything and nothing. Chiamaka had nothing and everything. And in the space between those contradictions, they found something real. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment telling me about a time someone showed you kindness when you needed it most. About a moment when you were seen by someone who had no reason to look. And remember, the most valuable thing you can give someone isn't money or opportunities or connections. It's your attention, your kindness, your willingness to see them as human. The richest gesture is sometimes the simplest one. A bag of convenience store kimbap at 3:47 in the morning. A conversation with someone everyone else ignores. The decision to look someone in the eye and recognize their humanity. That's the real wealth. That's what actually matters. I'll see you in the next story. Until then, Keep looking for the humanity in everyone you meet. You never know whose life you might change with one small act of kindness.